Hey my beautiful souls, welcome back to Finding with Jessie, the life coach. A big welcome to you all. Happy 1st of February. So I actually took a little bit of a break. I needed one. And since then, there's been a few newbies here. So I just wanted to say a big welcome to all my new subscribers. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. If you haven't figured it out, my channel is a combination of self-care, self-love, mental health, organizing, and I know some of you have been loving the organizing videos. So I just want to express my gratitude and send love back to all of you guys. I'm happy that you are enjoying it all. So my beautiful souls, today we are going to be speaking about difficult cycles. So recently I actually have dealing with someone who actually was just been dealing with difficult cycles of life, and little by little the person's mental health declined. And today I want to talk about that and give some tips, because I know a lot of people, we all go through it. But a lot of people have been in difficult cycles, and the thing with difficult cycles is when they continue and they go on for too long, that's when we start losing hope. We start getting depressed. The sadness really starts sinking in, and we start losing faith, and slowly our mental health declines. So today I'm going to give some tips towards how to maintain that, because that's the most important thing. When we are going through difficult cycles, we got to make sure that we're keeping our self-efficacy in check. And self-efficacy is all about the belief in oneself that we can get through a situation, right? And like I said, when we go through difficult situations, and it could be multiple things that are happening at the same time, right? And so it is really hard to maintain your grounding, and little by little that self-efficacy starts dying. And so that's when you need the tactics, you need the skills, and a lot of people are not taught this. So today we're going to be talking about it, and I'm going to be sharing some tips. So tip number 1 is going to be surrounding yourself with nurturing, grounded, understanding individuals, people who are of sound body and mind. This is super important, and people don't realize how important this is. When you're going through a difficult time, the last thing you need is to be around someone who is very negative, someone who is telling you to do things you already did, right? It's like you already tried it. You might have tried or avenues, and you have someone who's like, well, try this or try it again, and you didn't try it right? So that's the last thing you need when you're trying your best to maintain, and you have someone who is either negative or telling you how to do something that you already done. It could be very frustrating, right? Also, making sure that you are around grounded people. This is super important. A lot of times people just take advice from others who are not grounded, people who are unhealthy in their own ways. They have maladaptive behaviors and maladaptive ways of coping. And if you're around people like that, and you're not thinking straight, and you're not thinking clearly, and you're relying on them to be your sense or your source of light and your sense of encouragement, and they're not capable of doing that, they can actually catapult you into the wrong direction, and it can create more havoc for you. Also, someone that could be a sense of nurture to you, someone who's understanding of your situation, understanding of your strives, understanding what you are trying to do, someone that could be helpful, and someone that could be a sense of encouragement and inspiration. Not someone who's going to instill more fear where there's probably already fear, right? Like if you're struggling, you're really struggling, and everything you're trying to do is not working out, you don't need someone that's going to instill more fear into you, right? Because that's the number one way, for our mental health to decline, because we're so stuck in fear and anxiety. So just be very, very mindful of the people you are around. If you're struggling and you know someone who is grounded, and you know someone that you admire, and you know someone that you feel gives great advice and possibly can guide you, those are the people. That's the person you want to go towards, okay? My second tip is to make sure you focus and look at all of the things you are grateful for. I say this all the time. and we should be doing this at all times. But when you're going through a difficult cycle, it is so easy to get stuck in all the negativity and everything that's going wrong. And to be honest, it could be all parts of your life going wrong. The universe, life, what you're going through could be giving you a million reasons to want to just sit down and cry and break down. And they might be really, really hard things that you're really trying to navigate and balance, and you just can't do it, right? So what you need to do is focus on the things that you have, the things that are in your life that are blessings. And majority of the times, those are things that we take for granted every single day, right? A roof over our head, heat in our homes, food in our tummies, money to buy simple things like and soap and bathe in warm, clean water, things of that sort, clothes on your back. The things that we take for granted every single day because we're so used to having it. But if you've ever been in a financial situation, you've been financially stressed, those things that came so easily at one point, they could be a huge strive for you now if you're in that situation. So concentrating and focusing on what you have versus what you don't have is going to be imperative to maintain your mental health when you're going through difficult cycles of life. My next tip is taking it one step at a time and focus on what you can do. And what I mean by that is when we are going through difficult phases of life and it feels like life is hitting you at every single angle, we might have multiple things we're trying to balance. Sometimes we have huge life transitions that are just coming up that we weren't prepared for, or huge life transitions that we don't know how to manage because we never been through it, right? And there might be multiple barriers in our way, and we feel like we can't move, we can't go forward, and we don't know where to start, right? What you want to do is focus on what you know, because majority of the time, sometimes when life gets too hard and our emotions are very heightened, it becomes very foggy, very clouded, and it's hard for us to do the basic things, right? Especially when you let the sadness and all the emotions take over. So sometimes just getting out of bed can be super difficult. So what do? You focus on one step at a time. Today I'm gonna get out of bed. Today I'm gonna have a nice meal. Today I'm gonna go do this. Focus on the basics, focus on what you know, and let time and, as your situation pushes forward, get you to the next phase of life. Don't get overwhelmed by thinking of everything you need to do. No, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. Focus on the basics, focus on what you know. So when you're going through life difficulties and you're stuck in these cycles and everything seems against you, and sometimes you can't even think straight, you want to focus on grounding your emotions, grounding yourself in your basic life skills. Eating, bathing, right? Making sure that you are taking care of yourself, taking care of your mental health, taking care of yourself physically. Because if you don't have that, you're not able to move forward. You're not able to move forward. Even if you are capable of moving forward, it will fall apart because you're moving without a solid foundation. So you want to make sure that the foundation is solid. My next tip is to focus on mindfulness, which is similar to one step at a time. Mindfulness is all about living in the present moment, right? Doing what I need to do for the present time. A lot of people go into anxiety because they're worrying about the future, and a lot of people suffer from depression because they're stuck in the past. So you want to make sure when you are struggling that you're focusing on the right now, on the present moment. Staying in the present moment is really hard, especially when your emotional state is very heightened and you have so many things to balance and that's going on and falling apart all at the same time, right? So make sure you're staying in that present moment. Make sure you're staying mindful and make sure you're focusing on what do I need right now, within this hour, within this half an hour, within this next 10 minutes. What do I need right now, so you make sure that you don't once again get overwhelmed. My next tip is to make sure you're focusing on self-soothing rapport with yourself. What do I mean by that? When we are going through hardships in life, it's very easy for us to fall into negative thinking, right? especially when you're trying to move forward and you're trying to balance things out and you're getting a lot of no's or you're getting a lot of rejections, and everything you're trying to push forward is like pushing you back, and you just don't even know what to do. When you're going through that, it's very easy for us to get really down on ourselves, right? The negative talk starts setting in. The I don't want to be here starts setting in. The I wish I was somewhere else. I wish I was somewhere else. I only have myself to blame. Why am I so stupid? Right? All that negativity comes up. So it is our job, right? And it's a full-time job when you're really struggling to maintain self-soothing rapport with yourself. And the way you do that is by challenging those negative thoughts each and every time they come up. Literally, a negative thought comes up and you challenge it. That's not true. We'll get through this. I made a mistake, but you know what? We're working past that. We're not gonna stay focused on that. It's already done. That is the past. We're trying to remain, mindful. We're trying to remain in the present. I have to focus on the solution, not the problem. And you challenge that. You challenge all those negative thoughts that come up. It's imperative that you do that when you're going through difficult cycles. Because the only person that could do that for us is ourselves. We're the only ones that's in charge of our thoughts and our emotions. And in order to control our thoughts, we first need to control our emotions. That's where the thoughts come from, right? We get into bad emotional states, boom, those negative thoughts start popping up, right? So you want to start challenging that. And when you start challenging the thoughts, the emotions start dying down, right? Those heightened emotional states start dying down, right? The anxiety starts dying down. The fear starts dying down. And you're like, okay, we could do this. We can handle this. We have the solution. Or we don't have the solution yet, but we're working towards it. Or we're going to focus on that, right? And it just takes that fear state down. So it's super important how you talk to yourself when you're in difficult phases. And it's one of those skills that a lot of people don't know how to do because they weren't taught. These are skills that I teach my clients depending on what they're coming in for. The majority of them are struggling with some type of emotional state, and I teach them these type of tactics to get it under control, right? Because once our mind is not right, our emotions are erratic, it's super hard for us to think straight. We're not thinking clearly. So we want to make sure that we are keeping our mind clear so we can think straight and look for those solutions. My next tip is taking time out. This is all about self-soothing and self-care. And the problem with this is when you already feel like you're moving so slow, or you're not moving at all, or you have 8 million things to figure out or 8 million things to tackle and things are falling apart around you, right? Like if you're in financial crisis and financial stress and this got to get paid and this got to get done, and you have to do this and you have to be there, and everything is coming at you at the same time. It's very hard because you're saying to yourself, well, I don't have time to slow down. That's not good advice. Now, let's take it back. And I'm going to tell you why it's very important to slow down. Because majority of the time, in order for us to think clearly, we need to once again make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. When our mind is boggled down with so many things, all we're doing is adding stress on top of stress on top of stress on top of stress, and to the point that we get that is like ready to explode and we don't know how to handle it. It's very important to make sure you are embracing self-care and stopping and slowing down when you need to. If it's for 5 minutes, then it's for 5 minutes. But taking that time to just breathe when you feel like you're out of control or you can't control situations, which majority of the time we cannot. Sometimes it could be circumstances that's against you. It could be timing that's against you. And what you need is to slow down. It might seem counterproductive, but it's more productive than you think. Because when you take that moment to just relax your emotions, relax that fear, get a cup of coffee, sit down, get a nice cup of tea, just do a breathing exercise, take a bath, bathe in the middle of the day, just to, just calm down and release some like nice feeling chemicals in your body. That 30 minutes, that 20 minutes, that 15 minutes, that 5 minutes is going to do you a great amount of justice. and you will get that momentum back. This is what people don't realize. They think by slowing down they're losing time, but that's incorrect. When you slow down to take care of yourself, when you start feeling refreshed and you feel like, oh, the stress is gone, the headache is gone, that weight on my shoulders is gone, now I can feel like I could tackle more. And the truth is, you do tackle more because you're taking that break, you're taking that rest. So if you feel overwhelmed and you feel like you don't know what to do, take a break, take a breather, slow down. My next tip is all about self-recognition and reward. Make sure you are praising yourself for the little movements that you are doing. Like I said, depending on how difficult the situation that you're in and how many things you're trying to balance and juggle and everything that's going wrong in your life, sometimes just getting out of bed, bathing, taking care of yourself, eating a meal, combing your hair, those things can be extremely, extremely difficult for you. So it's super important when you do something that is productive, that is moving you forward, that is getting you out of your slump, right? That you reward yourself. The reason for that is it's gonna pick up, it's gonna build that momentum of confidence that you are moving forward, that you can do it, and you're getting your confidence back little by little by little. So reward yourself for any little strive you do. It's so important to praise yourself and make sure that you are giving that self-positivity, like that self-talk back to yourself. That's all embraced in positivity, because you might already have a lot of negativity around you, right? That's why you're in the cycle to begin with. So you want to make sure that there's negativity coming at every angle that's trying to pull you down, that you are lifting yourself up. And so ways that to do that is to praise yourself. Praise yourself, give yourself self-recognition for every little thing that you are doing that's pushing you forward, pushing you towards healing, pushing you towards conquering whatever cycle and whatever mishap that you're facing. My next one is all about acceptance. Accepting situations, accepting the circumstances as it is, and the most important is accepting help. Majority of the time, we're so used to doing things on our own. It's a sense of pride. Sometimes it's the last thing we're holding on to, right? We might have lost a lot. A lot has been taken from us if we're in a difficult cycle for a very long time. And the last thing that we're holding on to is our pride and the capability of I can do it all on my own, especially if you've always done it on your own. If you're one of those people who've always stood strong on your own, and this might be a situation, the circumstance that's pulling you down and you need the help, then you need to accept that, right? Accept that you need the help. Help with counseling or therapy, whatever it is, the quicker you are able to get to that point that you are ready to accept help, accept the situation, accept the reality, the quicker you'll be able to move yourself forward. And just understand that help could just be temporary. So a lot of people don't want to accept the help because, they start feeling almost like they're failing, right? Just remember, we all need help in life at one point or another, right? Just a lot of people don't talk about it. So if you're accepting help, just understand that you're accepting the help because of the circumstances you're in. It's only temporary, and then in due time, you'll get on your feet, you'll go forward, and things will change. My next tip is all about surrendering. And surrendering is all about letting go. A lot of people like to equate surrendering to giving up, and sometimes it can mean that, but the context that I'm discussing is more about spirituality, psychology, and your emotions. And when you surrender to a process or surrender to a circumstance, it's not about giving up. It's just about accepting. Once again, just accepting and just allowing what needs to happen, let it happen. So if you literally need to surrender and just release, then do that. Some people need to release their emotions. So if you need to cry, then cry. If you need to be vulnerable, let yourself be vulnerable. If you need to just sit in the moment, let yourself sit in the moment. If surrendering means stop pushing forward and letting things fall apart just momentarily, and just because you can't control everything, then letting it fall apart just momentarily and for the moment until you're able to get back on your feet, get yourself nicely grounded and able to take care of whatever you let go. So surrendering is not the same as giving up. Surrendering is just surrendering and stop pushing against the grain or the force that's coming at you that you can't control. A lot of people try to control situations, and the truth is we cannot control certain things, right? And that leads me to my next tip about knowing when to stop pushing. Sometimes we're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and we're pushing against circumstances that we can't control. We're pushing against timetables we cannot control. We're pushing against forces and energies that we cannot control. So knowing when to start pushing is super important, right? Like if you're pushing against circumstances that are not changing and you keep on trying and trying and trying and trying, that's the ultimate way to make yourself feel depleted, defeated, feel like a failure, feel like I can't do this, and then slowly and surely you start losing hope, you start losing faith, you start giving up, and then your mental health starts declining. So it's so important to know when circumstances are not where they need to be and you don't have the resources that you need, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you're trying, no matter how much you're changing in your life, and still things are not changing, that means that that's just the circumstance and the timing, and there's nothing you can possibly do to change that. So you're gonna have to just let it be what it needs to be and stop pushing for the moment. That's when you need to take a time out. You need to just relax, regroup, take a break, reflect, meditate, pray, and just give yourself some time, and then let the moment pass, let the circumstances fade out, let the time pass, and then get up again and push forward. And so that's a super important skill that we are not taught. We are taught always to keep on fighting. And the truth is, and the reality is that sometimes you can fight all you want, but sometimes resources and circumstances and time is just against us. It's in opposition to what we are trying to do. And sometimes it's for our greatest good. Sometimes there's things just not meant for us. Whatever we're pushing towards is not for us. And that's when we need to know the difference of when to stop pushing, to take a pause, to stop, reflect, regroup, rethink, restructure, and then move forward in a different direction or a different time. So my beautiful souls, those are my tips for how to make sure that you are sustaining your mental health when you're going through difficult times in life, difficult cycles, and it seems like circumstances, time, everything is against you. Because sometimes the truth is, it is against you. That is the truth of some people's reality and certain things that we face. Sometimes we cannot change the circumstances, and we need to know how to just live within that circumstance until time passes and things get better. So making sure you are taking care of your mental health and making sure you are monitoring it and regulating your emotions and regulating your self-health and self-care is super important. It is going to be the catalyst, right, that moves you forward, because without your mental health, you have nothing. And so I hope that anybody who's going through a difficult time, they get out of it soon. And I wish you all love and light. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.